The film starts with a high school kid and father fishing together. Kale Brecht and his dad, Daniel, are engaged with an auto collision while getting back from their fishing trip, which ends Daniel's life. A year passes in which Kale stays in a predictable condition of despairing and dormancy. One day, close to the furthest limit of the school year, he is denounced by his Spanish instructor, Señor Gutierrez, for dozing during class. At the point when the educator proceeds to inquire as to whether he could see him now, Kale smacks him right upside the head and continues to go after him. For this attack, which under ordinary conditions could prompt a year in an adolescent detainment place, he is condemned by a thoughtful adjudicator to a 3-month house capture period with a lower leg screen and a nearness sensor, which deny him from meandering past the limits of his home and yard. He then, at that point, discovers that one of the cops checking him is the educator's haughty cousin, who takes savor the experience of embarrassing and humiliating Kale before others, for example, one event where he is compelled to the ground after unintentionally going past the restrictions of the yard, while pursuing a gathering of young men that pull a trick on him. At first, he satisfies his fatigue by playing computer games, however not long after, his mom, Julie Brecht, drops his memberships to the iTunes Music Store and Xbox Live, as well as cutting the power line of his TV, to drive him to help around the house more. His fatigue drives him to spy upon the encompassing area. One evening, Kale becomes dubious of his neighbor, Robert Turner, who gets back in a 1967 Portage Colt with a scratched bumper, matching the depiction given on a news report itemizing a deviant chronic executioner from Austin, Texas. Kale and his dearest companion Ronnie start to see the young lady nearby, Ashley Carlson. She is made aware of their spying when Ronnie's optics crash into the window. She hence chooses to go along with them. Ronnie and Ashley excuse Kale's doubts at first, seeing them as founded on incidental proof. However, they become step by step more included when occasions inside Turner's home persuade them to think that he has been kidnapping ladies and killing them there. Kale notices a lady Turner had gotten from a dance club attempting to get away from the house in a terrified state. Anyway, she is subsequently seen to leave. Thinking everything seems okay, Ashley hosts a gathering, which Kale ruins by impacting Minnie Riperton music through his window. After Kale and Ashley have a discussion, they begin making out. A scene then, at that point, shows blood splattering on Turner's window, which the two teenagers neglect to see. Afterward, with Kale and Ashley watching, Turner supposedly drags a weighty sack to his carport, which Ashley professes to have seen blood on. Kale demands that Ronnie break into Turner's vehicle to get his carport entryway opener to explore. While Turner is at the store to purchase a digging tool, Ronnie recovers the carport entryway opener code yet leaves his phone behind tragically. That evening, Kale continues to keep an eye on Turner and leaves messages on Ronnie's PDA. At the point when Ronnie finds that he left his cell phone in Turner's vehicle, they endeavor to get it back by opening the carport entryway. They do this effectively and Ronnie finds the pack and says he can see hair notwithstanding blood, driving both of them to presume that it truly contains a human body. The carport entryway is abruptly closed and Ronnie conceals in the house while Kale endeavors to safeguard him, simultaneously, making the police aware of the break of his home capture. As the police show up, they search the house and find that Ronnie doesn't appear to be any place inside. Checking the carport uncovers that the pack contains the remaining parts of a deer that Turner had hit on the highway. Kale fears Ronnie is dead, however later finds that he got away, safe, expecting that he would be gotten, assuming he recalls mom Julie then, at that point, goes across the road to converse with Turner herself, in order to control him away from squeezing charges. While she is there, Kale watches Ronnie's tape, which he left over all time he was making his departure from Turner's home. As Ronnie falls over in his scurry in the tape, he coincidentally recorded something taken cover behind an air vent, so Kale zooms in to see what it is. It seems to be a reasonable pack, with something in it. He zooms in further and sees what is obviously the dead body of a young lady. At a similar second, Turner takes out Julie, maimed and admitted to breaking into the house. Turner then, at that point, moves into Kale's home and hits Ronnie on the head with an aluminum polished ash. He then pursues Kale, who attempts to flag the police by turning off his vicinity sensor, then runs outside to set off his lower leg screen, however in the end neglects to get away. Turner takes him out and channel tapes his appendages together, as well as pipe tapes his mouth shut. Turner then, at that point, uncovers his arrangement to approach Kale for the homicide of his mom, because of despondency over his dad, and Ronnie, because of irritation over going out with Ashley, prior to committing suicide. As Turner has Kale composing a self-destruction letter to Ashley, she enters his room, amazing the executioner. Kale wrecks Turner, allowing him and Ashley an opportunity to get away. They jump through of Kale's window, arrival in Ashley's pool, additionally alarming the police of Kale's break. Kale snatches a couple of nursery shears and goes to look for his mom in Turner's home while Ashley goes to caution the police. In a room looking like a working theater, Kale finds certifications having a place with Turner's past casualty, the red-headed club young lady, as well as a hairpiece, recommending Turner wore the hairpiece and it was him Kale saw going out. Official Gutierrez shows up at the scene in the expectation of charging Kale for breaking and entering, however he is killed when Turner creeps up behind him and breaks his neck. Continuing to the cellar of the house, Kale falls through the floor and winds up drifting in a pool alongside a few dead bodies in different conditions of rot. He figures out how to move out and finds his mom bound and choked under the establishment. Turner out of nowhere shows up from behind Julie and endeavors to quietness Kale and his mom. Julie wounds Turner in the leg, giving Kale time to kill Turner with the sets of planting shears. As Kale and Julie leave the carport, the police show up, and their experience with Turner is finished. The following scene then shows Kale in his kitchen getting his lower leg screen eliminated and let out of house capture for acceptable conduct. It then, at that point, shows Kale pursuing retribution on the local children who put a pack of flaring canine excrement on his patio, inciting him to take off from the limits of his home capture while pursuing them, and water bombarded him the night Ashley hosted her get-together. Already in the film, he had found them watching obscene television while watching through from his window. This time he is watching them with Ashley and calls their mom claiming to be with their satellite television supplier and says somebody is as of now watching grown-up motion pictures in their room. Their mom races into their room and finds the young men, getting Kale's retribution. However, at that point he says that he expects more as that was just his most memorable strike. In the end, Ashley and Kale start making out on a couch when they are interfered with by Ronnie, who is fine separated from a bruised eye, recording them with plans to set the video up on YouTube. By and by, they give no indication of inconvenience other than Kale doing a pitiful center finger at Ronnie. The film closes with the tune, "One Man Destroying Machine."